Yeah, I mean, we can get straight back into it. I mean, men's basketball got into conference play, if I'm not mistaken, on like right at the start.
January 2nd.
Yeah, January 2nd. And TCU men's basketball opened it up with a very good-looking result. They did lose to number 2 Kansas. That's over there in Lawrence, Kansas. But they turned it around, got 2 big wins, beating number 9 Oklahoma and number 2 Houston. Both of those were at home, so those were awesome wins at home for TCU. But now they've lost back-to-back games. One to Cincinnati in overtime, which we all feel, I mean, there's things that we feel that the team could have done better to kind of close that game out. But then they came home, lost their first conference home game to number 24 Iowa State this past Saturday. A lot going on in basketball, both men's and women's for TCU, but I guess we'll start here. What have you guys kind of made of this season so far? We're 5 games into conference play, Zion. I guess we can start with you.
Yeah, it's sort of been an up and down start for TCU. I was very encouraged with the way they played against Kansas. They just had a controversial call go against them, and that kind of made the difference. Then they come back and, yeah, like you said, they pick up massive wins against Oklahoma and Houston. But yeah, this last week was a bit frustrating because there was a lot of hot and cold streaks throughout both games. In Cincinnati, I think they made like 10 of their first 12 shots, and they were really in a rhythm. Then they went, several instances where they weren't able to get a bucket, and I think they didn't score like the last 5 minutes of that second half, and then you lose in overtime. And then Iowa State, I mean, they never really got it going at any point. I mean, there was only a couple times where they made it close. It's just a little bit of a lack of consistency that I've noticed so far, and you just kind of hope that can change a little bit. But they have to be better in the half-court offense. I think they've relied a little too heavily to score in transition, and teams have figured that out pretty quickly, and opportunities aren't as prevalent in transition where they're so successful.
It kind of felt like during the first half of that Iowa State game that only Iowa State was playing basketball, at least offensively, because TCU never had the opportunity to go and run their half-court offense, mostly because they decided that once they got across half-court that they were just going to hand the ball over to Iowa State and tell them that they can go and do their thing, which was very frustrating to watch. What was it, like 8 turnovers?
8 turnovers in the first 5 minutes of play.
Not good. Not good stuff, especially against a team like Iowa State, which has a very good defense, leads the conference in turnovers forced per game. So
showed that on Saturday.
It showed that a lot. So you're just playing right into their hands. You're playing their style of basketball, and therefore they're going to be more comfortable. And it was very evident that TCU was not comfortable at all. And that's kind of just been a thing with TCU teams the past 3 years, 4 years. Half-court offense just doesn't seem to come easy, and that's a problem. Like, as you all said, they like to get out fast, and it's great. They usually they led the NCAA in fast break points last year, and I'm pretty sure they're leading it still this year, which is great, but you can only do that so often, and you can only do that if you're allowed the opportunity to. And as you said, Zion, teams are adjusting to that. So it'll be interesting to see how they pivot. Oklahoma State next, and Oklahoma State is the baby boy of the Big 12 conference. The rest of the conference, I feel like, is a bunch of macho men punching each other, and then meanwhile Oklahoma State is in the corner, in the corner with a bib and in a bottle. But if there's anything I know about sports, this is an excellent opportunity to be disappointed again. So we'll see what happens. That's tomorrow night. And then from there, just bangers and bangers of games. Baylor coming up this weekend. It will be definitely interesting to see how they attack it. But again, I think the overall theme is take care of the ball and just be more efficient offensively.
Yeah. We'll get to more of the TCU and kind of Big 12 stuff later on in the show. But going back to this last game against Iowa State, with 8 turnovers in the first 5 minutes, 23 turnovers in the first half total. I mean, there's no excuse for why TCU played the way they did. I think in the post-game presser, Jamie Dixon basically said, look, Iowa State didn't throw anything at us that we didn't prepare for. And so, it can probably be a bit concerning, and most likely TCU just wasn't on their day. It was the day that all of the players just didn't really show up. But it's frustrating because, you see some of these really good performances that they put together. Again, beating number 9 Oklahoma, beating number 2 Houston, both at home, both top 10 upsets. It's frustrating then to see the 2 back-to-back losses to Cincinnati and Iowa State. And, part of me, I guess, as a fan, as a viewer of TCU basketball, I'm kind of thinking, this is kind of just how the Big 12 is. It's very competitive. Any day, any team can win on any day. But then at the same time, TCU didn't look anything like themselves on Saturday against Iowa State. It was just such a uncharacteristic performance from them.
Yeah, they had another interesting stat: 1 shot attempt in the first 5 minutes. 1 shot, and it was a Jameer Nelson fadeaway.
Yeah. And he did make it.
He did make it. Yeah, he came in for Avery Anderson 2 minutes into the game. I thought that was really interesting.
There were a lot of quick substitutions in and out throughout that entire game.
Yeah, because I think Jamie's okay, this is not working. We got to make something. We got to let someone else run the offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really found it hard to believe what I was seeing against Iowa State. You look at it, and yeah, they lost by 1 point, but it's really was not a 1-point game at all. The only reason it was is because Tennyson made a 3 at the end, and it brought it to 1.
Which was surprising to me as a viewer who decided that this was no longer a game I should be interested in. Whenever I saw that it was a 1-point game, I was like, oh. Well, that, good to fight back, but, upon further review, it seems that was a bit of a faulty conception that I made while at the mall. But there is something to be said that the second half was significantly better. The turnovers were significantly less.
Yeah.
They did not turn it over as much, which is great. It's very hard to turn it over as many times as they did in the first half. Some teams, I don't know if TCU knows this, but some teams don't turn it over 8 times in 40 minutes, let alone in the first 5 minutes. That's just a note that some teams might want to take going into games over the rest of the season. But yeah, I feel like there's something to note of that. Do y'all think we should be concerned at all or anything like that? Because I don't think that there's anything from the last 2 games that make me feel less confident. I'm certainly less confident than I was after the Houston game, but I'm not I feel like I'm right back to the same confidence I was once conference play started.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any more concern right now. I think it's just more the fact that, and again, I'm going to be reiterating something that everyone knows, but it's just that you got to go into every single game like you're playing the best team in the nation, like you're playing the best team in the Big 12. Because again, any of these teams can beat up on one another on any given day. And it's not that TCU went into the past 2 games thinking that they were going to win and thinking that they were the superior team in the matchup. But it's just one of those things that I think it just comes down to the mindset of going into each of these games as, look, this is going to be a battle. It doesn't matter what name is on their jersey, the names on their backs, who's on the roster. It's wherever we go, and even if it's at home, teams are going to bring it to us, and I just think it's a mindset thing.
Yeah, I think it is too. There's definitely, you don't expect TCU to replicate that, obviously, moving forward. One thing I did like from this last game was the free throw shooting was much better. Ernest Uday went 8 of 10. He started off 8 of 8. I mean, I was like, whoa. I mean, he seemed more comfortable at the line. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, honestly, baby. Ernest was...
That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
Ernest was...
That was longer than I thought it was. Yeah, it was. But that was awesome.
Ernest just looked very comfortable. I mean, he... had a little more arc on that free throw. I think
we're looking for arc. We're not looking for laser beams.
Yeah. And I think we went 20 of 26 from the free throw line, which that was sort of a problem against Cincinnati. Yeah. And they seem to be on the right track. That's something everyone knows how critical free throws are.
They're free.
They're free. And I've really liked what I've seen from Travion Tennyson. It just feels like he doesn't need any space. Like you give him a tiny bit and he's going to knock it down. And TCU hasn't really had that. That was kind of a problem last year, was the inconsistent 3-point shooting. Tennyson can bring that. Jacoby Coles can bring that. And it's nice that we kind of have a little more spacing and you can rely on the 3-point shot a little bit.
It's definitely good to have a 3-point shooter and this is no knock at my boy, Francisco Farabello, but I feel like he was a liability at times on the other end of the floor.
Defense, yeah.
Yeah,
defensively, totally.
So like when he's in the game, it's like maybe he'll get open. Who knows? But like I feel like Tennyson is a lot more athletic and can do a lot more things than Fairwell could.
Yeah, Dixon said that he is probably their best guard defender, Tennyson, and he wasn't when he came to TCU, and he's gotten a lot better. So that's another plus as well as his defensive abilities.
Yeah, you know, with this game, and I mean, I'm trying to think about trends here of like what we've seen from TCU over the last couple of games, and I guess with this game at Iowa State that I hope that they can turn around against Oklahoma State is penetrating into the paint, driving to the basket. Obviously, it was really hard against Iowa State, who have a tremendous defense. But it's one thing that I want to see more of because I feel like our play gets very one-dimensional when we're just working around the perimeter. And I feel that we really struggle to make adjustments in the middle of the game to then figure out how we're gonna how we're gonna try to penetrate or work around those types of things. Also, rebounding was a bit of an issue against Iowa State, and in past games too, TCU's been out rebounded a little more than I would have liked to see. So a couple things that I want to see them, fix, patch up a little bit, but. Again, I mean, going into this game against Oklahoma State's 8-10 on the season. They're 0-5 in the Big 12. They're last in the Big 12 standings. It's a golden opportunity for them to kind of flip the script and just go in there, get a good win, hopefully, and just regain some confidence.
It's crazy how wacky the Big 12 is because if you just went based on like tiebreakers and standings, this is the 13th and 14th teams in the Big 12 going against each other. TCU is 2-3, but based on it might be just alphabetical order, but they're 13th in the standings right now. But this, and we're going to talk about this later, but I just want to hint at it.
Yeah,
this conference is the best in the nation, but there's also a chance that they just kind of beat up on one another. And we're going to see Oklahoma State, as I said, they've been the little baby boys in the corner, but. Will they get revenge? This is also the Avery Anderson revenge game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming back. He transferred from Oklahoma State.
We'll see. I don't believe in revenge games, but I'll believe in this one.
There you go. Yeah, they came close to beating Kansas State. They lost 70-66. So it might be a situation where they are very hungry to get that first conference win. You just don't want to let the home crowd feed into that a little bit, and you can't get behind too quickly. So, yeah, the thing is TCU definitely needs to get a win here. There's just no gimmies in the Big 12, so this is one that is as close to as a gimme as you can get. They've played some really elite guard play the last couple games defensively. The Keyshawn Gilbert and the Cincinnati guard, I can't remember his name, John Newman. They were very good defensive guards, and so that kind of played a problem, as you mentioned, Ian, on the perimeter. I would like to see some sets where you can get into the paint and finishing, because they get a lot of offensive rebounds and then just can't capitalize. So, I would like to see them touch the paint a little bit more, because that frees up perimeter shots and can get Tennyson open. So, it's a good opportunity. And then you have Baylor, which will be an exciting game. But, hopefully TCU can get back on track. If you can split, go 1-1 each week or 2-0, going 0-2 is really it's not good.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
You're on track for the 9-9 season that we've been accustomed to. By the way, Keyshawn Gilbert, hot weapon for Iowa State.
Yeah. Again, with TCU, the biggest thing going forward, no matter who it's against, it's really just controlling what they can control. It's controlling the turnovers. It's making sure that you're efficient when you get those free throw opportunities. Like we saw, they went 20 for 26. Great to see Ernest Udeh go 8 for 10. I want to see that continue. It doesn't, this last game, that it's great that he went 8 for 10. He needs to continue to do that, because it was incredibly poor previous games leading up to Iowa State. But I think the biggest thing that this team can do is just control what they have control of. Don't worry about playing to the crowd. Don't worry about things that you can't deal with. As long as you work on your own ball security, you make the shots that you should be making, you get rebounds, you box out, this team can really hit their stride and hopefully make a good run in kind of the middle to latter portion of this Big 12. men's basketball season. But that does it for TCU men's basketball. It's been great watching them. I mean, again, they're 2-3 in the Big 12, but there's still a lot of time left. Curious to see what this team does going forward. And they've got their next game tomorrow night, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time against Oklahoma State Cowboys. Cowboys are 8-10, 0-5 in the Big 12. So TCU looking to get their third Big 12 victory of the season. But up next, we've got some talk about TCU women's basketball, whose season unfortunately has been derailed due to injuries. But we'll be right back here in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to Riff Ram Review right here on 88.7 The Choice, your choice for college radio.